Appreciate you all being here for the our hearing, Ensuring Transparency Through the Freedom of Information Act. We have just completed votes on the floor, and I'm sure we'll have some members as they hustle back here to the hearing. But I wanted to get started. We have a very distinguished couple of panels. We appreciate those that are participating and sharing their perspectives with us. I would remind the committee that we are not only the Oversight Committee, but we're also Oversight and Government Reform. The goal of these hearings is to come to a place where we can actually reform this process so that it works no matter who's in the White House, no matter what administration is there, that we get this part of the equation right. My passion for this comes from the idea that government should be open and transparent. It's what separates the United States of America from everybody else. We are self-critical. We do take things and look back, and sometimes those things are a little bit embarrassing. But because it might be a little bit embarrassing is not enough to withhold information from the public and the public's right to know. It's the heart of what we do as a committee. It's what we're supposed to be doing as the United States Congress, and it's what we're supposed to be doing as a country. And nothing makes government more accountable than making its actions open and transparent to those that are paying the bills. The Freedom of Information Act, otherwise known as FOIA, gives the public a tool to gain insight into how their government functions, what it did well, what it didn't do well, what it should have done, what it shouldn't have done. And clearly, in retrospect, looking back is 20/20 vision. You can go back with great clarity, but that's why it's important to do this and understand. A request for FOIA must simply be in writing and reasonably describe the records being requested. That's it. That's the way at least it should be. But navigating the FOIA process is complicated and varies across government agencies. Something like 550,000 times in just the time since I've served in Congress, which is the same time that President Obama took office. 550,000 times FOIAs were rejected because there was some sort of exemption that took place. In responding to a FOIA request, each agency has its own set of standards which may or may not be updated to reflect the current law. One of the great frustrations is agency by agency, there seem to be different standards and different practices. And when we get to the hearing tomorrow, that's one of the things we want to explore with our witnesses. What one agency deems to be a reasonable description of documents requested may not be adequate for another agency. For example, the State Department rejected a request because it didn't include the contract number when the FCC, for instance, doesn't require that information at all. Congress must ensure that when it comes to FOIA, agencies are following the law. The FOIA statute requires agencies to give a preliminary response within 20 business days of the request. In practice, agencies take the 20-day time limit merely as a suggestion rather than a rule, and most of it is just laughed off and doesn't even come close to meeting the 20-day rule as prescribed by law. Some agencies don't even bother to go through the process of responding at all within the 20 days. Syracuse University recently learned this the hard day when only 7 of 21 agencies provided a satisfactory response to the exact same request for records kept by every FOIA office. The inconsistency is amazing. 3 agencies didn't even bother to respond at all. The unresponsive agencies were the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the Department of Justice Executive Office of the United States Attorneys, and the Department of Justice National Security Division. The FOIA law requires documents to be released unless those documents fall into the exemptions outlined in the statute, and exemptions are far narrower than most agencies claim. The committee reviewed redacted and unredacted versions of documents from the FCC and found numerous redacted emails with no statutory justification, in our opinion. Of note, the FCC redacted the chairman's initials from all documents under a privacy exemption, while failing to redact email addresses and other contact information for third parties. Inconsistent, to say the least. We also found some agencies redacted basic information already available to the public. Redacting information that can easily be found on an agency's website does not suggest a government interested in ensuring transparency. For example, in 2011, Immigration and Customs Enforcement at the Department of Homeland Security provided the National Security Archive with 111 pages of documents already available to the public, including news clippings, media alerts, even congressional testimony. Yet in those public documents, ICE chose to redact information like the name of the board agent that sang the national anthem at the conference. These types of redactions not only have no legal basis, but they defy common sense, and they make it more timely, more expensive to go through the process of redacting the person who sang the national anthem than just allowing the American people to know who that person was. So requesters who actually receive a response must literally read between the blacked out lines. And every time we see such questionable redactions, we have to wonder, if they're hiding this, what else are they hiding? Congress intended for FOIA to increase accountability by giving taxpayers a view into the inner workings of their government. And it's not just taxpayers, it's the media as well. That no longer appears to be the case. We have two full panels of witnesses here today with extensive professional experience with the Freedom of Information Act, and all have at one time or another struggled with the FOIA process. I look forward to hearing from all of our witnesses about their experiences with FOIA and entertain suggestions that they might have to ensure disclosure of information is timely, it's accurate, it's routine, and something that is more common practice than it is here today. So we appreciate all the witnesses and look forward to a good, robust hearing. We have 3 panels, 2 today, 1 tomorrow. And with that, I'd now like to recognize the distinguished ranking member, Mr. Cummings of Maryland, for his opening statement.
Thank you very much.